Hello, welcome to Math for All, where we make math creative, curious, and inclusive for everyone. I'm Molly Vokey.
And I'm Heidi Subnani. We are so excited about today's show. And we would love if you could follow along on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. And if you can't watch live, you can always catch up later. But we are just really excited to be speaking with Kristen. I did not mirror this properly. But if you are familiar with closed
It's looking good to me.
I'm sorry.
It's looking good to me. I could read it.
Oh, okay. So, yes, hanging math out to dry. Fantastic. But we're going to be talking more about this later. And she has a lot of amazing resources on her website as well. So we're just really excited to have this conversation.
Yes, I just used the integer one a few weeks ago. Very exciting. So her question is, what is one way to make your math class more active? So she's a very energetic woman. So it's going to be an exciting conversation today. So let's get to it. Here's Kristen's bio. So Kristen Acosta has been a math educator for over 25 years. She has taught TK to 8 math as both a classroom teacher and a district math coach. As a math coach, Kristen found her calling in supporting other teachers. She has published several articles for nationally recognized magazines such as The Communicator and Edutopia. Additionally, Kristen was nominated for the Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics. Kristen's work with math routines such as 3-act tasks and clothesline math has been featured by Mashable Math, Math Before Breakfast, Edutopia, Grassroots Workshops, Debate Math, and Ready, Set, Growth. She was featured in the California Educator. Kristen continues giving presentations nationally and internationally at various math conferences. So let's bring her in. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Happy Pi Day.
I know. I was in school today and hardly anybody was doing anything with pie. Oh.
I teach at an elementary, so they just know the edible pie, not the actual circle pie. But I wore my t-shirt just for you guys.
Same.
Yes,
I wore my t-shirt. There you go.
I'm the lamest.
I'm
like the lamest.
It's like the math holiday. That's what it is. So you gotta celebrate, you know.
It's like we gotta do something. I don't care.
Right. Just
if people think it's like a gimmick, I'm like, so what? What? People are asking, people are having conversations.
Right. Well, here's the thing though, right? Like, who cares if it's gimmicky? Because if you're getting people to talk about math in random places, why would you care that it's gimmicky?
Yeah, I saw on Facebook somebody called it a fake holiday, and I said, you know what, I'll take it because we're talking about math, so I'll take it. That's fine. If it's like going to be controversial, so be it. You know,
right? Yeah. Exactly. Right.
Very few holidays. Like give us the opportunity to eat pie,
right,
and talk about circles.
What was it 2 years ago when there was the Tuesday, the 2. Oh my God, everybody was excited. So I'm like, give us Pi Day, that, you know, because the 2 thing is not going to happen for a long time again. Next one's going to be 3, and we're probably not going to be alive by then. No. So just give us this one, you know, just
exactly.
Give it this one,
no. I was the school I was in today. One of the teachers is married to the department chair in the math department at the high school, and they got married on Pi Day.
Oh, nice, nice.
There's nothing more.
That's so cool.
Math.
Oh my gosh, I wish I knew that before right now, because what I was telling Kristen, that one of my teachers today, she's so awesome, but she loves like quirky stuff. Like she has a sweater that has Kermit the Frog on the back. Like she's just super cool. And she made pie earrings last night so that she could wear them to school today out of Shrinky Dinks. So come on.
I didn't even know Shrinky Dinks are still around. I'm impressed. I was like, where do I find some?
Where did you even get?
I need some.
Where does that happen?
Yeah, I didn't know that's happening, but okay, cool.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So, we'll start. Well, we're done with.
Okay, yes, let's start.
Okay.
Now we're official.
Now it's serious business now. Serious business. Okay.
We would love to know, what is your math story?
Oh my goodness. Math, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. And it wasn't until I got to college and they said, oh, they need math teachers. They need female math teachers. And I'm like, okay, sure. And I've always done, well in math. I can't say I'm like, A plus, like I took pre-calc in college and got a D in it. But then my advisor was like, what grade do you want to teach? I said, I don't know, anywhere between K through 8, probably more, upper grades or whatever. He goes, what, kindergartner is going to take pre-calc. I'm like, thank you. And got and then I just kind of buffed up on all that stuff. But I think so I've, in my careers, I've been teaching for about 25 years. I started as a middle school math teacher for about 14 years, math coach and whatever. But I think and I've always had my own ideas. I don't think, the timing, any time on any test, whether it be whatever, should be allowed, that kind of thing. So I always tell kids, because by the time they get to middle school, they're scared, they hate it, so let's kind of make it a little easygoing, likable, that kind of thing. So I've always been that teacher. And it wasn't until my son started, he goes to the same school district as I do, as where I teach. And I put him in an elementary school not far from me. And all of a sudden, it wasn't until I think he got to 3rd grade and the teacher's telling me he doesn't know his multiplication facts. And I'm going, what are you talking about? So, just driving to school, I'm going, hey, what's 4 times 8? What's 3 times 5? And he would tell me, yeah, it's this, Mom. Hey, it's this, Mom. I'm like, okay, so what's going on? And it wasn't until about a week or so later, I realized it's because he didn't know 50 facts, multiplication facts in 30 seconds, he would tell me. And I was going, how can you? And it was at that point I kind of realized, now it's not that I was living in my own bubble thinking, well, everybody thinks like me. I realized, oh, we're different. Okay, we're different. Okay. So, okay, got it. And he would even tell me that little by little, he would save one of them that he didn't complete. And just to kind of get it through the next week, he would use that one that was halfway done. So he learned how to to make a system, make a system out of it just so he could get. And I was going, oh, wow. So I learned a lot with him going through the system. And then that's where I was starting to read, and the time thing just drove me crazy. So then I started kind of branching out and reading, and especially books by Joel Bowler. Then I started going to conferences and realizing, oh, there's a lot more people that think like me. Oh, good. I'm finding my people. Oh, good. Otherwise, I felt like I was like a stranded island. And even in the middle school, when he got to middle school, I would, he would bring home his homework and the teacher's having them take notes and it says memorize. And I was like, what are you doing memorizing? No, why can't we teach? So I have to always give credit to my son, Jared. I think my eyes opened even more that one, not everybody thinks like me. That's okay. And I'm not asking for everything, but I was like, oh, okay, we need, there's work to be done there. We need to have conversations, brave conversations about how math should be taught, how it shouldn't be taught, what is it doing to the kids and stuff. So I have, so I always thank my son. I think that opened the doors for me. And then becoming, a conference participant and then transitioning to more of a presenter where I've been sharing my ideas and stuff like that too. I just want to help teachers. That's all. So I would say that's my math story, if anything. So I now teach at 6th grade at an elementary school in Southern California here. And I still work with the teachers at my school as well, showing them all kinds of new routines or whatever, kind of breaking them away from a textbook that kids, I think math is just page 47, page 48, page 49. And you're going, math is such a gorgeous subject. It's beautiful to see all this interconnectedness and to be able to play. We don't use those words anymore. Play, all this kind of stuff. I do that in my classroom. And I have to say, the kids have been very successful. And I was going, yeah, you know what? We need to keep having this brave conversation of it's okay to put down this and, do other things that cover all your standards and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So I've just kind of found my calling, watching my son and then kind of jumping into the presentation game. And, little by little, have built up this whole thing. So, but my son is my inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not the first person to come on here and credit their own job as a parent for some of the growth that they've had in their career or their own curiosity about math and how it's taught, even if they're already in the math world. I think it's kind of incredible that your role as a parent teaches you so much, and you never could account for what you're going to learn as a parent because you care so deeply about the child that somebody who's not even a math person might learn some of the things that you have learned with your own love of math. But,
oh yeah. And I always told my son, you were my first student and my favorite student. He goes, but I'm your only son. I'm like, that still makes you my favorite. That's okay.
Still counts.
Makes you my favorite. Still counts, right? It's okay. So yeah, and I'm very thankful for that. And I realize, for instance, elementary teachers have so much on their plates. And so that's why whenever I come in, I always tell them, one, if I can't figure out how to do something in my own classroom, then I'm not going to present on it. And so I said, whereas, if they say, I like to be authentic and I like to make sure, like, if I could do it, you guys could do it too, but you just, be a little brave, be a little, courageous to step out of your box a little bit. But I'm telling you, the results and the reactions are going to be fabulous. So it's always worth it. So,
I love that. And I think one of the things that I have enjoyed so much about, about your question, but also the way that you incorporate learning into your classroom and the resources you provide. So I first came across your name a long time ago in your 3-act math tasks. And those were so powerful for some of the younger grades that I was working with. So I was like, okay, well, this is perfect. And then clothesline math. But I think that you're hitting on a lot of different elements and types of teaching and learning for students. And I think that's such an incredible thing if people just stepped back for a moment and thought about it, right? So if we're attempting to incorporate more movement, either because there's a UDL mandate or there is
there's always a mandate, right?
Or you have kids who need more of that. And I think all of us do, we spend too much time sitting in class. You're always providing resources around that. So it's not just think about trying these things. It's no, these are things that actually work and actually get kids engaged. And there's some actual proof behind it. And so I've always really appreciated that.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. As you see, usually on the banner of my, I was going, what's the theme of my work? And it came up with math is an active subject. And once I put that together, I kind of thought back. I'm like, am I just making a thing now? And I said, no, you've always done that in all your 25 years of teaching. So now you're just incorporating, a couple more new routines, like the 3-act tasks and stuff like that. So, and I think that resonates with everybody. Okay, we can't just sit and turn pages in a textbook. Let's, you could get a lot of bang for your buck with some of these very simplistic routines, as I'm sure we're going to discuss, and of course get a lot of excitement from the kids. I mean, isn't that what we're begging for? We're in this world where kids, attention span are like this, and thanks to all the social media and all this craziness. So it's almost like you become like a 3-ring circus trying to, hey, how about we do some math? And I'm not saying we're entertainers and we're clowns or something like that, but there's a lot of ways to grab their attention and get their curiosity. And some of it isn't necessarily screen related, which thank goodness, because I think they've been on screens enough. So let's kind of get down back to brass tacks. Let's learn some good math, but in very creative ways. Some visual, some kinesthetic, that's why when I say math is an active subject, it could mean a lot of things: visual, conversational, kinesthetic, whatever choice might be, it means all bunch of these things. So I just kind of use that math as an active subject kind of as an umbrella of all my work that I do. And then and two, again, I think teachers are starving for really good resources. And I'm just the kind of person that, as dorky as it sounds, I see math all over the place. Going back to my son, we would, he was in water polo, and we'd have maybe like 2 hours before the next game, but we're not going to drive back and then drive back. So we'd go to like a grocery store or whatever. And that's what I would do is I would say, hey, Jared, go around and try to find something mathy, like, because mom likes to take math pictures, and we all have one of these now next to us, so it's pretty easy to take pictures and whatever. And he would find, hey mom, look at that stack of sodas or whatever, and I'm like, cool, thanks, click 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 click, there you go. And hence all of this started, kind of thing. So again, I have to go back to, I made it fun for him, and and he's looking at math in all different ways as well. So whenever I came up with a new routine or new something, especially with clothesline, some of the clothesline math, I would always try it out on him first, and just to kind of, let me just see what you would do. And all the stories that I ever tell during my presentations, they're all true, because this has been years in the making. This is just tried and true stuff that we've tried out at my school. And I always give my other teachers credit for, hey, let me try this or whatever. They let me kind of experiment. So that's why I like staying in the classroom, because it's like my lab. Instead of me just, calling myself a consultant and sitting there and typing out lessons that I'm not really going to try. So that's why everything that I've done, we've tried it. I always tell teachers, email me if there's something, you have a question or whatever, and I'll tell you different. I mean, there's a bazillion ideas. I can't go to sleep at night sometimes, but that's kind of how it all started. It's like there's got to be more. And once I found out about the Reacts, like, oh, I could do that. That's fun. And that, it just like all kind of made sense to me. So, hey, let's do it. So that's how kind of everything came about. Yeah.
So if we were going to answer your question, what is one way to make your math class more active? I mean, you've already, referenced two things that you've been really focusing on and that are really prevalent on your website, both 3-act and clothesline math. So I'm curious what the one way is that you would be talking about.
I don't think there is one way.
Yeah.
There's many ways, and it really is, what is a teacher at home comfortable with? Okay. So I'm like, I love 3-act tasks. I love breaking out manipulatives. Oh, we forgot to mention manipulatives, like playing and tactile. I love clothesline math. It's like a permanent fixture in my room. I love all this stuff. So I kind of build a curriculum that incorporates all this. Not every unit is going to need clothesline math, and that's okay. That's all right. Not every unit we're going to play with Cuisinart rods or something like that. And that's okay. But, could we know that we're going to use it down the road or whatever, and use it here and there, and at least give them, just a little taste of it? Yeah, that's okay. So I'm just a big believer in building a really effective curriculum with all these experiences, because kids have to experience math. And on top of that, like why I love 3-act tasks, we're giving context to some of the stuff that they're learning, instead of, for instance, there's one I called Fast and Furious, that a teacher was like, I'm teaching subtraction. And I said, well, subtraction is really kind of the distance between 2 points. And I came up with 2, like one of those cars that you pull back or whatever, and then they kind of go. And I kind of made a number line out of Unifix cubes or whatever. And it worked. One of the cars went further than the other. And I said, okay, so how much further did one go from the other? And I'd rather do something like that, one lesson, than give them a whole sheet of the fast facts. Let's practice the algorithm, because that's real. That's authentic. That's things like, we always have used real world math. Like the 3-act, right? Haven't we always and I put it in quotes because we're like, yeah, real world math. But like, I believe 3-act tasks, is real world. It's real. These are real situations, that problem solving situations. So, okay, one way. Oh Lord, you're really pigeonholing me, man.
No,
You don't have to pick one way, but I guess
I feel the pressure,
for
man.
me, I associate you with clothesline math. So
Yeah.
would you mind just talking a bit about how you use clothesline math? Because I found your presentation in DC to be really, I mean, active is the right word, but I thought interactive actually was another good word to describe it. And I recently did use your integers one, and I love that it has so many different things on it. It has like a check on it, which how many kids have seen a check before? It has a receipt on it. It has an equation. It had lots of different ways of thinking about integers, and so I found it to be much different than the other clotheslines that I've ever created and or borrowed from somebody else. So can you just talk a little bit about your ways in which you use clothesline math?
Sure. Okay. So for those of you at home who are watching and don't know what clothesline math is, let's describe it. Whatever. It's just in case it's a three-dimensional, and you can see I have my clothesline right here, wherever, because I just did a presentation yesterday. It's a three-dimensional number line. Okay, we're taking that number line and it's coming off the page where the kids can touch it and feel it and manipulate cards back and forth depending on the meaning. So I call it the VCR of 2024 because as soon as those kids see, and I am aging myself.
I was going to say only a few people will be able to laugh at that with us.
Right. Maybe I should say the CD player. I don't know. I'm trying to, renew my jokes for, the new generation. I don't know. It's the streaming service of 24. I don't know what context goes there, but you get my drift. Anyway, so, for those of you who don't know what a VCR is, when we were younger, they'd have the VCR, the TV and the VCR, and they'd put it on the roller and they'd come out and we'd all sit there and go, oh, what are we watching today? Right. Yeah. And so as soon as I start breaking out the string, once they figure it out, they're like, oh, are we doing the clothesline? Yeah, we're doing it. And they're like, okay, great. What are we doing today? One, I've got their attention right there in the palm of my hand. Okay. So, and how frequently, if I say, get out your books, and but hey, let's do clothesline math. Okay. Then they want to know, okay, what card am I getting? What are we doing? What's going on? Like all of a sudden they're just like focused. So, and I found out about clothesline math through another presentation. And when I was a coach at the time, and I was looking, I was elementary coach. So of course I was going, oh, let's see if there's anything out there, if people have done this before. Cause I saw mostly middle school and high school were doing a lot of clothesline. Hey, what's going on? And I didn't see anything. I think there's more stuff now, some other people. However, mine is very unique, very, very unique. And I thought, and I'm a big believer, by the way, too, that if I can make something work for 4th, 5th, 6th grade, I'm going to try to make it work for kindergarten. That's my main goal, is if I can make it work for kindergarten, I can make it work for every grade level. So I always keep kindergarten teachers in mind, or whatever, because I did a lot of work in kindergarten. Anyway, so it just started, as a coach, I would tell one of the teachers, yeah, I saw this thing. And they're like, oh, we're doing fractions. I'm like, great, let's do fractions. Oh, I want equivalent. Okay, let's start. So I would design one set of cards and I keep it, I didn't even have the website at the time. And then somebody said, oh, well, I want to try this. And so little by little, I was like, just the ideas were starting to roll going, wow. And we looked at, for instance, the standards that have that word number line in it. And that's what we tried to break out and, put to life. But we also looked at standards that what I call have number line potential. Yeah. That even though you would never think, for instance, in kindergarten, at least here in California, they have to teach the attribute of weight. Basically, what weighs less, an elephant or a brick or like a leaf or that kind of thing. And we, at the time, the kindergarten teacher I was working with, we were like, oh, you could kind of do this on a clothesline, like, and in a very rough form, like meaning like all the lesser ones, like a penny or a Lego or whatever, go on one side of it, and then or I should say on this side of it, and then the middle ones like a chair or football, kind of like are in the middle, we're not sure, and then like the heavy ones like a plane or a truck, they're going to go on that side kind of thing. And it worked. I've even done some kindergarten clotheslines with 6th grade, and just to say, because for instance, I want them to verify, and you wouldn't believe the attention to detail when they were like, well, I don't know, there's smoke coming out of that, I think it's a toy train versus, whereas kindergarten's like, yay, and they're like sitting there arguing, and I'm going, this is fabulous, this is great, because we're about to write persuasive essays, and they're arguing, and I told them, I said, these are kindergarten cards. They're like, get out. I'm like, yeah, they are. They're awesome. So anyway, so just little by little, we've in working, people would have an idea, here, come do that, like money. We coins and cents. We made a clothesline out of it, and when I went in to do it with 2nd grade, the kids are like, oh, we've done money already. I said, oh, you haven't done it this way. Yep. And they said, well, why did we do it? And I started kind of rattling off all the reasons, and I was going, wow. I mean, they have to first know recognize the coin, identify the coin. 2, recognize the value of a coin. 3, there's addition involved, because I would
put like, that kids don't know what coins are. I was doing a lesson with a teacher on decimals, and we were essentially going to be operating with decimals, but we decided to use money because
money. Sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
7th graders didn't know that a quarter was 25 cents.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, my kids don't have money.
Yeah.
They don't have physical money anymore. They have
they have Venmo. They have Apple Pay and Venmo, and Yeah. So it just little by little, these ideas just started sparking, and they all worked. And that's why I have such a vast collection. And then eventually, the book came along. One of the publishing companies, I'm not going to say who, got in touch with me and said, hey, we want you to write something. So I wrote up a whole thing. And I kept writing for months. And I'll tell you the personal side of the story or whatever later. But I was going through cancer at the time. And so literally during my first chemo session, I'm sitting there with a big yellow pad and just, writing. And the nurses are like, what's your wife doing? And asking my husband, she's like, oh, she's writing a book. Don't worry. I'm like, oh, just, but it was an awesome project. It was good to have, I wanted to be seen for more than a bald head. And my cancer, I was, still, there's brains up here, despite all of this. So anyway, kept writing. And I said, I wanted to do a resource that is so teacher friendly. Literally, you guys have seen the book. It's just lesson plans. But the big thing is, like, everybody could download the cards. Look at that. Yeah, I was going to say, show them one of the lesson plans.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Oh, thank you. Everybody can download the cards, but do you know what questions to ask? Do you know why you're doing this and what's the purpose, and like seeing a connection from one thing to another. So it all just started coming together. Of course, then COVID hit, so nobody's going to want it. The publishing company, before COVID hit, called me up and said, you know what? Yeah, no. And I was going like, what? COVID hit. No one's going to do clothesline online, even though they tried. I was like, yeah, no, the impact is not there. So about once we started getting back into the schools and stuff, I have a buddy, Jen Hunt. She's a sweetheart. My buddy up in Portland said, do you still have that thing, on your computer? I'm like, yeah, like I don't. She goes, why don't you self-publish it? And I was like, what? And I had been, by the way, in the middle of COVID and everything, trying to, other colleagues of mine were trying to set me up, and I had meetings with other publishers, and it was no. And I'm like, okay. But Kristen Acosta doesn't take no for an answer. Just long story short. So and I always have to thank my husband. He's my great partner in this whole thing and figuring out. He's always helping me with ideas and how to make. He goes, you know what, let's do it. And it was just what an education of trying to get yourself published and copyrighted and finding a barcode and stuff. So I just thought and again, some of my colleagues were like, this is just too good to leave on your laptop, especially when it could benefit and impact so many kids. So it's been out for about 2 years now. It took like literally a full year. I hired a graphic designer. I just, I had colleagues of mine, trusted colleagues, would read some of these. Like I have my friend is more of a kindergarten through second grade specialist. So I said, read this, we've done it in the classroom, but does this make sense? She goes, yeah. I would, a fifth grade teacher that's a dear friend of mine was, like here, does this? She goes, oh, this is really abstract, but it's really good. Like it's good. I hate to use the word rigor, but this is good rigor. Okay. Yeah. So like I had tons of people. It's not like just me again, sitting there typing going, this will be great. Everything was tried and true. And so, I mean, I'm very proud of, the 292 pages, because I think it's very teacher friendly. And that's, I'm very blessed to hear this, but some people have called me like the teacher's teacher. And I said, well, yeah, because I'm still in the classroom. I don't want like a thick book that is theory. I want practical. I want real. I want, oh, you tried this? Really? This is cool. And, you just made it easy for me to, okay, here, I'm getting observed. Let me, okay, I'll try this out. Great. That kind of thing. So that's how kind of it all came about. And I call it my second child. I can't call it my first child. He would be not happy, but I call it my second child because it means so much to me. It brings me back to that, what could be a very negative point in my life, but something really awesome and amazing came out of it. So I'm very proud of it. So yeah.
Well, and I think that people, like teachers that I've worked with, definitely see the immediate potential and like possibilities for their students working with it. Right. And so I think that having the opportunity to, so a couple of things that I really appreciate about it. One, you can move your card as new information comes, right? Which is what we want them to do in math. We want them to be able to adjust based on new information. And so having that idea, it's not like static and stuck there forever. Like, okay, new information, I'm going to make a change in that. It allows students to non-verbally participate if that's the option that is most needed for them, and like so they can still participate by adding without talking about it. So like having that as one way to kind of consider it as well. And then just the number lines are such a powerful visual for students, but having that in a full scale, right? Like, like we're taking this big and we're making connections between different number types and giving kids opportunities to notice and wonder about something that's right there in front of them. Like sometimes I feel like, oh, like we've noticed and wondered about all the things and who cares?
Right.
Sometimes,
we're not making connections.
Like sometimes it's
here.
over.
Yeah.
But when there's something that I've participated in creating, it allows students to then have those true wonderings about something that they're doing in the moment, versus even when we take fantastic pictures or we have great, like it's still sometimes removed from the work that they're doing right now in that context. And so I think that it's just such a powerful opportunity for kids to engage in math in a way that's routine, but also not routine. Like that's the other thing, right?
Yes.
And one thing that I made sure to do is I could have just printed out numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and just go here, put these in order. And I don't know how many times I've heard like, okay, now what? And I'm like, oh, that's one of the reasons why I like using multiple representations. For instance, like I use, what is it? One of the cards has like 2 hands, so that could be 2 hands. So they might put it on a 2, but then it starts a conversation. Well, no, Mrs. Acosta, it's supposed to be 10 fingers. I'm like, is it? I mean, all I just said was put this card where you think it is, from least to greatest kind of thing. But it opens up. Yeah, there you go. It opens up a lot of conversation. and that's what I love about it. It becomes a centerpiece for conversation. And I don't think sometimes when we're just, again, I'm sorry to say, I'm going to beat that horse, following a textbook, that natural conversation comes up like that. So, but yes, the revision of thinking is big. I was just I'm going to give a shout out to Mandy Jensen for Rough Draft Math. And she came to the same presentation you guys did for a little bit. And I just had dinner with her recently, and she goes, "Oh, you're always revising your thinking." I'm like, yeah, that's the idea. Nothing's permanent. They could change if we have a conversation. I'm not saying let's start a math argument, but we kind of are just starting a math discussion of where these things should help and, how things relate. And you're right about the bigger picture that, for instance, I give you my decimal story. I had a 5th grade teacher ask me, like, I want to do close line math with decimals. We've done it. We've got it, and by the way, I'm getting observed. I'm like, okay. Sure. Okay. So, so we plan. What happened was the kids put the decimals into think of by place value, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10. Then they put it in 22 hundredths, 33 hundredths, and I'm just making them up. And then one was like 1/1000th. So it had technically 4 digits and whatever. And she was like, "Oh my God, it was a disaster." And I ran to the principal. I said, whoa. Before you start marking her down because the thing blew up in her face, what story does this tell? And the principal looked at me like, what? And I asked the teacher that. I said, what story does this tell? We might, in textbooks alone, they usually say, here's 2 decimals, compare, contrast, but that's it. They could do 2 decimals, but try giving them the bigger, broader picture of what, I usually give 25. I think I have 30 decimals, and they're like, what? They don't have that opportunity. So let's just, I would have, kept going, why do we think? So in a way, the kids did make, and I tried it out with my own son, and he did the same thing. And I was going, okay, so you could see that the kids are trying to make sense in a pattern of something. Is it correct? No. But do they know decimals conceptually? No, they don't. So at that point, I would have gone back to a visual of hundreds chart, not 100 chart, 100s grid, and showed them the visual. What's the difference between, 1/10? What's the difference between, not 1/2? I'm sorry. I'm thinking percents all the time. 5/10 and so on. So they need that visual before they go to what I call the abstract of, of decimals and where they are in the whole scheme of things. So
you're making me think of something that happened today twice in 2 different classrooms that I was in. And I feel like there's so much missing the mark on teachers' part. So, and this is what I mean, that what you said is that when we give an activity and kids don't get it, right? It's an opportunity for us to see where their learning is in that moment and what the misunderstandings and or misconceptions are. That is a gift. We should never, teachers should never be upset when kids, the whole class can't do something. That's a lesson for you.
Yeah.
This is where you need to go right now. And it happened to me twice today. And the teacher was like, I can't believe they can't do that. I'm like, but now. So now that
and what's your next step?
You know what to do next.
Yeah.
And that was what that was for you. Yeah. It was to tell you this is where you have to go. And I think there's such a misunderstanding of what that is. I think it's a gift, but you think you failed. No.
I think teachers become maybe embarrassed. They think I've been teaching for so many years. And I, by the way, to your audience, wherever, I never think I'm the end all be all. I just say I might be the facilitator of conversation among teachers, but I always like to honor everybody's years of experience. So I just have my own ideas of math. And if you like my website and they jive with you, cool, we're good. And if you don't, that's fine. That's too. But I think, and it's so funny that you're bringing this up, because one of my next presentations, sometimes ideas come to me literally in the middle of the day, because I'm discovering I had kids trying to put up what was it? Fractions. It was kind of like Priya said, let's see what you know. Let's see, and putting up fractions. And one child put, I forget, I couldn't even tell you, but I know I have it in a picture somewhere on my computer, like a fraction in the wrong place. And I sat there and I'm like, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And I'm going, oh my God, okay, again, what story is this telling me? What am I going to, what's my next step? And I don't think we're brave enough to have that conversation and go, okay, what would you do next? So I literally thought that same day, I'm like, I could just do a whole presentation on just like common mistakes kind of thing. And let's just discuss, let's be brave. It's okay. Let's be brave. Let's discuss like, here's a picture of the situation. What would you do next? Same with like that decimal thing. What would you do next? I mean, I'm not saying like every time I walked into a classroom or the teacher did clothesline, it went perfectly. No, but we've learned from mistakes. And hence, I'm able to tell stories going, hey, we all think, that the kids know decimals. Oh, they compare, whatever, but, give them this. And again, what's going on? They don't know it conceptually. So what can we do about that then? So that's the next step. And, it's okay to have the conversation. Let's put it out on the table, because I'm sure if I'm noticing this, you might be noticing this too. So let's talk about this. Like, what did I do that worked? What did you do that worked? And so on. So this is very poignant, because this has been on my mind. That's like, I'm collecting stuff and asking teachers, take a picture when they make a mistake. And they're like, what? And I'm like, no, really? Because I don't like to just, I could pull off, mistakes all the time off the internet. I don't like to do that. I'd rather do it, take a picture in the classroom and let's talk about this. Cause I like to show the real deal, not just somebody else's. Work, so.
Well, and I think that's the big teacher learning, right? So like, much like doing clothesline allows kids to make adjustments in real time, taking real student work and things that they are getting wrong at that time, like that is their learning. That's not actually a misconception for them.
Right.
That's what they think. So having that opportunity to look at that's the hard work of what we do as educators, right?
Yeah.
Is like the first time you do it, like, oh yeah, great. And I tell teachers all the time, like, I can come in and I could completely bomb. So like, we're going to say, oh, that did not work. And what are we going to do about that? Like, what student learning those are the really hard conversations. So what happens when we are confronted with something that we thought was understood and is not?
Agreed.
Like,
but it's a cultural thing that for me, that's a cultural norm that needs to be encouraged in schools more, versus this idea of looking at your teaching and saying in that moment, like, oh, this didn't go well.
Right.
But why didn't it go well? Because they couldn't do it? Like, why couldn't they do it? If they couldn't do it right in that moment, it doesn't mean they're never going to be able to do it. But like, how are we going to get them to that moment? And can we discuss that instead of, like you said, being embarrassed that it didn't work? Let's talk about, how do we get them there? Do we bring in a clothesline? Do we do a 3-act math? Do we have to do 500 number lines? Whatever the case may be. Right. But it is so cultural, and few schools have those conversations. And I think a lot of it's not because they don't want to, but it's the lack of depth at which we look at our craft, and then also the amount of time that we have to discuss our craft together. Which is why we're able to do this, right? We're able to sit here and talk about this at length, and we go to these conferences, and we are able to have a lot of these conversations. We're lucky. We're super lucky, but not all teachers get to do that. And it's kind of a bummer, especially sometimes when teachers are like the only math teacher in their grade level. And they have nobody to talk about.
It's very isolating.
What they're currently doing.
And so you can't reflect with anybody. I like to have, I think people call it like a thought partner. And I said, that's how I process. Like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. And, and then we come to a conclusion kind of thing. And some people don't have that. I think some schools don't even know to do that, or, have that time, and they're not looking at student work. And that's a shame, because students tell the story of what they know and what they don't know. And we need to analyze that story and go, okay, what's my next step? How, not necessarily how do I react, but kind of like, how do I plan? Okay, how do I get them, like you said, on their math journey? How do I get them there? So yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
They teach us probably more than we teach them.
Yeah.
I mean, every day we're learning what they don't know and where they are and where they're not. So
yeah, I totally agree with you, Molly. I totally do agree. Yeah. So it's because the self-reflection, I'm sure they go home, teachers go home and go, that didn't go well or whatever. I think we're very critical of ourselves and critiquing and stuff, and valuative of ourselves. So people might take it as embarrassing to go, well, they didn't do well. Yeah. I don't take it as embarrassing. I'm going, okay, just what are you going to do next? Like, what's the next step? That's what we should be talking about. Not like, oh, this didn't go so. Okay, well, tomorrow's another day, and we move forward, and let's make adjustments, and we go. What else? What other choice do you have? So let's keep going. That's all. Yeah. We learn. Hence I say I'm never the expert. I'm still learning things too. So I just like to talk about, hey, this is working for me. So try it out. It might work for you. That's all, Yeah.
So I'm curious, what is your favorite thing to do? Like, what's your favorite activity that gets kids talking, active, engaged?
I purposely take the first 2 weeks of school. I don't do any curriculum. I don't do, well, this is part of my curriculum kind of thing. I don't do any, some districts want you to do pre-assessments, some people like to do review. Let's do fast facts. I don't do any of that. Okay. So the first 2 weeks are my introduction to how Mrs. Acosta teaches math differently. Okay. And I tell them that, and they're like, what? Like, how can you teach it just differently? So I introduce to them, for instance, the first one I introduce is, which I adore, is which one doesn't belong. Okay. And the way I make which one doesn't belong interesting and different is like the first one, I'll say, okay, go find a corner. So if you agree that this one is different, go to this corner. I do the same thing with adults, and they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, get up, move, get the blood moving. So they do that, and they're like, oh, great, we're having fun. And then I said, discuss with your little group why doesn't it belong. So this way it's like, they're not by themselves and trying this out or whatever, like you're with your group or whatever. So we do that like a couple of times. But then we transition to, okay, just sit in your seats and, and then you can raise your hands. But they're like, oh, are we doing one of those again? Another routine, I introduce to them clothesline. I do like a number talk. I'll do like just the clothesline, and I say, okay, everybody draw a number line. And I start breaking out numbers, like friendly numbers, groups of 10, and I'll break out 40, and then I'll break out a 10, and then I'll break out 70. And then the humdinger is always, I break out 130 or 100, so that everything's got to shift. And I hear, oh, and I'm like, yes, that means I win. Okay. Every time with adults and with kids, every time. And I'm like, but they're paying attention and like, okay, to be reacting.
If they're reacting like that, that they're in it.
I got them right here. So I love it. I'm like, I did it. So like I do clothesline math. I'll break out, for instance, some people like to do, let's do multiplication facts. Let's do this. Let's do that. Here, let's do a 3-act task. And I'm going to give you a situation, and I want to just see, how do you problem solve? What strategies are you using? And I collect those papers, and I might do maybe 2 of those. And since I teach in 6th grade, I'm not doing like 6th grade ones. I might start like 3rd and 4th grade ones, just to show them like, oh, look, here's candy. Oh, look, here's ducks. Here's, whatever it may be. I do that for like the first 2 weeks. Then I might have them create their own which one doesn't belong. I have them. So like, it's very interactive that way. Like Steve Wyberny's mysteries, they love that too. Like, okay, let's try this out. But again, all of this is building, all these experiences are building number sense, but I'm also getting an idea of what they know and what they don't know through experiences. They think they're playing a game. So for instance, I'll string up, after they know what clothesline math is and they've played with the numbers, Like the next day, I'll just put the string by itself and I'll put a question mark, just boom, in the middle and go guess my number. And they have to use yes or no questions. So they'll say,
I love that.
Right? Is it even? Is it odd? Is it, greater than 100? And I'll come up with a wackadoodle number, because automatically every single time you do this, the kids just think the line is from 0 through 100. So I'll come up with like 352 just to like bug the heck out of them. And they're like, what? And then they want to get up and have a turn. So one time, this one child got up and I said, okay, think of a number, put the question mark wherever you want, kind of thing. And, they take turns doing this or whatever. And so I said, okay, guys, ask your questions. And then me as a teacher, I'm writing down the questions or the answers on the whiteboard, just to kind of keep, that's my teacher tip, just to keep, keep track of what the yeses and the nos are. Otherwise they're like, oh, we asked that question 20 questions ago. Anyway, so the question was asked, is it an even number? And the child who was in charge of the number goes, Mrs. Acosta, what's an even number? I was like, we have work to do. So we have work to do. Okay. No judgment. Okay. Hey, can everybody tell me what an even number is? But again, that's more telling of what the kids can do and what they can't do. I don't think it's like demeaning to them whatsoever. And it tells me so much more information than some of these assessments, pre-assessments, the computerized stuff. And it's a great way to, once I go, okay, they'll ask me, when are we doing the video lesson again? Okay, well, we're going to do it in about 2 weeks, whatever. So, and it's not that I do it every single day, but the first 2 weeks are just when, okay, we're just going to introduce you to these, and then they get it. Mrs. Acosta teaches it differently. And you know what? My principal every year, as long as I teach the standards, right, boss? Yep. As long as you teach the standards, it kind of gives me carte blanche to go, I know what I'm doing, and my scores have been showing it, and we're good. So, yeah, I just, and any advice I would ever give to a teacher is just try something. Just try it. Just try it. Because worst case scenario is, if it tanks and you don't feel comfortable doing it, okay, that's fine. But you'd be surprised what the conversation is going to be, because you're doing something different. So that's okay. That's a good thing, I would think, Anyway, so that's it. So that's what I usually
do. Your favorite thing is basically all of it.
Right. I'm very tired. Making it. When I say all of it, what's my favorite thing? Yeah, clothesline math is my favorite. Hands down. Second favorite, if I were to rank them, is probably 3-act tasks, because the kids know some classes I'll tell about the website and stuff, and some of them don't. So some of them see me taking pictures like crazy, and they're like, it's going on the website, right? Yes, it's going on the website. Or I'll say, hey guys, I want to try out this lesson, because another teacher in somewhere else, South Carolina, is having difficulty. Do you mind if I try it with you? Yeah, they're game. They feel like they're part of something bigger. And I tell them, it's going to impact some other child elsewhere. So we got to get this right, guys. And they're game. They feel like they're part of something bigger. So, which is awesome. So hence, one of the reasons I like staying in the classroom is, so that I could perfect what I'm putting out there for other teachers. And it works. It totally works. But yeah, I mean, and then the other favorite is just number talk images, or just, and I'm just going to piggyback on just saying visuals, of, for instance, I teach ratios and proportions, ratios and rates. That's the other thing. Proportions is 7th grade here. And so rather than giving them a worksheet going, here, practice this, I get a whole bunch of pictures, put it on Google Slides, and go, okay, find the ratios of, for instance, if there are a whole bunch of crayons, count how many green ones there are versus yellow ones there are, that kind of thing. Give me the ratio of green to yellow. Give me the ratio of red to all of them, and that there's so many pictures that invoke so much more conversation, and their interest is right there, and they're up there pointing at the screen going, can I take a closer look? Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Be my guest. And they're that's engagement. So hence, I mean, I use number talk images, but I just say visuals, like a visual picture all the time.
We're with you.
Yeah, I'd rather do that than like a worksheet or whatever. I think some of these are so simplistic, and I always say you get a lot of bang for your buck. There's a lot of thinking going on with something so, simplistic as putting a picture up on your screen. So, I would say those are the top three. That I do. And then I do other people's work and stuff like that, but those top three are what I'm most passionate about and what I use in my own classroom, because they're easy, they're useful. They're, it's not like you have to recreate something like, oh, here, it's easy. Just talk to the kids, have the kids talk, because then you'll see the math through the kids' eyes instead of you telling them what to say. So,
yeah. Well, I was going to say thank you to you because, you've done a lot of thinking already, and you, as you've already said, everything that you have in your website has been tried in your classroom and many other people's classrooms. So I like being able to just steal from other people and having had the thought already gone into it. I mean, I'm happy to think about things too, but when I work with teachers, I'm like always looking to give them something. So I would like, on behalf of teachers all across the world, I would like to say thank you for putting it out there for people.
Well, you're welcome. And people ask like, well, why do you do it? One, I'm a math nerd. I'm the dork that sees math like all over the place. I mean, we were at a concert a couple of weeks ago, and there was this interesting like thing, and I'm taking a picture of it, and my husband's with me, and he's like so used to it. He doesn't even, and I think somebody else asked like, what is your wife? It's a math thing. Doesn't even, it's a math thing. It's just, this is what she does. I mean, I've been out on like trips with my friends and stuff, and I'm like, click, 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 click. And they're like, it's a math thing.
You should see Heidi. You would love to go places with Heidi because she rearranges fruit, and she'll put a bunch of pumpkins in a patch. She will rearrange them and then unarrange them.
What about eggs?
You guys could go out together.
Eggs. I'm the first one to go, honey, I will put away the eggs. And he's like, oh no. And I'm like, click, 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 click. It's really exciting to me. Get it? Yeah.
No.
Okay. I'm all scrambled. Anyway. Okay. Sorry. I know. It's bad.
She's here for the week.
You're like, dun, dun. I told you don't know what you're getting. I like really good mathematically sound resources. I don't like having to pay for them because they have a pretty font, if you know what I mean. So I just, just lo and behold, kind of somebody said, oh, you should start, you're doing such great work. You should start a blog and start a thing. And then it kind of morphed into what it is now. And it's something I'm very proud of. And I think it's user friendly, speaks volumes. I try to be very accessible to anybody who emails me. And like I said, I just like to be a facilitator of conversation. But most importantly, I realize, especially elementary teachers, they have a lot on their plates. Heck, we have like platters, we have full buffets. So if I could try to make their life a little bit easier because I've got the math eye and I could, here you go, you might use this picture, then so be it. I just, let's try to make math user-friendly, accessible to everybody, especially because we're teaching kids of all kinds. And everybody's on their own math journeys. So, and the main reason that I do what I do is it's pretty powerful. And this is kind of the selfish part of me. I could impact my own classroom of 30, 32 kids. But to think that people are looking at my website and trying out some of my ideas in other countries and other states, to have a bigger classroom, like exponentially, is pretty awesome. That's pretty, like, one of my ideas you saw in Indiana or you used in, whatever, that's incredible. Wow. So to have that bigger impact is, again, selfishly, that's pretty awesome. To have like such a big worldwide classroom is neat. That's cool. So that, hey man, if I could help out even the teeniest bit, and that's all I'm known for is you're the clothesline lady, I'll take it.
You're gonna take
I'll take it.
I mean, you've not pointed out your clothespins in the back yet.
Oh, okay. So let me sink down. I got these at Michael's, and my friend, I took pictures. I'm like, I don't know, should I? She's like, you have to.
And I'm like,
okay, yeah. So I'm keeping the clothespin. That is a big giant one that I got a couple of.
I like it.
Yeah. So
I'm thinking like scale factor.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right up your alley.
Here we go. If you ever want to go to somewhere special, and I'm going to give this town a shout out, you have to look up Casey, Illinois. Casey, Illinois is small town, big things. And they built these giant, like rocking chair, like wind chimes or whatever. Talk about scale factor. And me being the math nerd was running around like, clink, 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 clink. Let me take pictures of it. I like loved it. And there's such a friendly town, so cute. And they build these big things because at the time, the interstate was going like, I don't know, south of them or wherever, and it wasn't going to hit them anymore. So they're like, okay, what do we do to bring people back? And so they just started big things like big baseball bats. So talk about scale factor. And there's a website, I believe, if you just Google Casey, Illinois, you will see it there. Like, I'm all about like goofy Americana, and I was like so there. So when you brought up scale factor, I'm like, yes, I have the maybe world's biggest clothespin. However, there's another place that's got even bigger stuff.
Bigger ones.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
So cool.
That's amazing.
Casey, Illinois. You can thank me later.
Yeah, all right. We will.
Putting it on the map, Casey, Illinois.
So we have referenced your website, but we want to put it up here as well as one of the places that people can learn more about you and your work. And you can also order the book there too. I believe that's how I did it.
Yeah.
And you're also very active on whatever Twitter is now, or
right. I'm also on Instagram. I use my Instagram to take and like put up a lot of the math pictures that I was just at Target the other day, and I'm like, ooh, here's more pictures. So I'm constantly putting it up, and then it all somehow ends up on the website eventually. But yeah, I try to be active. Yeah. Try to converse with everybody. And then I also sell, not that I'm turning into a commercial now, but like, for instance, one of the problems, and again, I just kind of I'm always thinking, besides the book, if people don't know, I use a special cord called paracord. But if people want, I mean, I have my own clothesline kits too, where they get a 15-foot cord. And then, like I said, I'm keeping the clothespin industry alive and well because of my goofy ideas. So it's all good, guys. But I sell it for a nominal price. Just way it's like a one-stop shop. You don't have to go anywhere else. Just like, oh, I need this. Boom. I put it in the mail literally that night, if not the next day. So yeah, pretty.
Love it.
There you go.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us. This has been a lot of fun and very informative. I hope that our listeners will go to your website and buy your book. And we
try it out.
See you. I know. We hope to see you maybe in Boston, but if not, in where's the next NCTM?
NCTM is in Chicago. I will be there, bringing my clothesline with me, and bringing it to Chicago. It's pretty big in the Midwest, actually. Yeah. Been calling me a lot, so and I'm happy to bring it. So yeah, Chicago, here we come. I'm going to be in Illinois in the next few days. What else do I have? Yeah, I've got other inquiries about coming to New York and stuff. But yeah, I always keep a list of where I'm going to be, and I tell people, come up and say hello to me. Like I totally love it. Tell me where's a great place to eat or what local cuisine I should try. I love it. So let's talk. That kind of thing. So yeah. I enjoy
awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for asking me to come. Really, it's an honor. This never,
Oh, I did not do that on purpose. That was so rude. I'm the worst.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now you know how it is.
Wow. Okay. I was like, I guess my time is up. I'm like, that's one way of telling me.
You put your hand out. I was like, what are you
Wow, cutting the cord a little there too soon, but okay, great.
They were live, so I can't even cut that out. It was so rude.
No, that was, yeah, but it makes for a good laugh. We do it for the funny. It's all good. It's all good.
Yes, we're live, as we said.
We're live.
What we're gonna be doing.
Good times. Good times. Did you all enjoy that? Anyway.
Yeah, right. Well, everybody, please go to her website, buy her book, go and see her when she is presenting, and
in your area.
I hope that we get to see you in person soon.
Absolutely.
Okay. We'll say bye this way, and we know for real that it's official.
I know. Instead of me just Xing her
Cut
out.
the cord.
That's right. All right. Thanks,
Okay.
Kristen. We appreciate it.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Oh my gosh. I'm a mess. Well, that was fun, but we knew that was going to be fun.
Yes, we did. And if you can go and experience in real life, we highly recommend. We used Kristen's materials before we got to meet her in person, but it's definitely worth seeing her in person if you can absolutely make that happen for you. So we are going to be off next week, but the following week we are going to be speaking with Kim Rimbley, and we hope that you will join us then.
Yes, but until then, please continue to make math creative, curious, and inclusive.
Good night.
Bye everyone.